Hey, welcome to Rabbit Holes with Aaron. I'm Aaron, and I have somebody I met recently. He did a reading for me, which went really, really well and opened up a lot of stuff for me. His name is Joey, and he graciously accepted my offer to be on the podcast to talk about whatever he wants to talk about and for us to talk about it together. And without further ado, thank you, Joey, for joining us today. Tell us, whatever about yourself a little bit and tell us and get us started with the topic you chose.
I figured I was just more gonna flow in and just kind of just let the conversation flow between us. I felt like it was just gonna naturally go exactly where it needed to go. But
Okay,
I was
yeah, let's
we were
go.
yeah, so I figured that we would get into talking about how I got into my intuition. And really, I feel like the most important thing before we get in, I guess, about stepping into your intuition, I feel like, is keeping your channels clear and
Hmm.
really learning to step into heart-based living.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean by a heart-based living, I mean like stepping into your authentic energy, like realigning with that inner child energy and what feels honest and true to you, even before it feels logical, and just doing it because you know that that's what you want to do, as long as it's based in the heart. Obviously, use your discernment with this. I'm not saying to rationalize poor decisions, but I'm saying to not really put others before yourself, when it's kind of killing your own happiness, to trust that the
Hmm.
universe might have better outcomes or better ways to do things.
Okay.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, no, that makes
Yeah.
sense to me.
Yeah, it's like a big act of surrendering and trust.
Yeah. And I want to bring up like something you said, like you said something about the inner child and balancing that and listening to that and like that's been such a big thing for me. Not only accepting the child, from the past of who I was as a child, but also like that child still lives within me. So becoming a parent, becoming a parent and child for myself. Does that kind of fit or where do you want to go with that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it fits into everybody. I mean, I don't have any kids, but I think it fits into every grown person. It's a matter of like feeding that part in you that really keeps you feeling youthful and keeps you feeling alive and vibrant and happy, because I feel like that's really where the magic happens. That's where we manifest from. That's where all of that inner joy is cultivated.
Well, and on top of that too, I think the inner child is given so much guidance and intuition to me because, and one simple example is that like I used to go to the store and I would look at clothes and I'd be like, well, I guess I'll get a black shirt and blue jeans and everything will go good together and it's a good decision. But once I made peace with my inner child, it was like, I want that shirt. It's colorful. And I want this shirt over here, and
Yes.
so I like different designs and patterns that I never even thought of before, you know?
Right? That's why I'm wearing a mushroom shirt today. I'm wearing a button down mushroom shirt. And I'm like, I love it. I've started wearing more fun stuff and just saying I don't really
Yeah,
care.
yeah.
But yeah,
And
so
we're similar like that. But go ahead. Go ahead.
I feel like you were so accurate about the inner child and the intuition. And I was just like thinking about how being around people with children, and you will know this because you have children, is they are so naturally intuitive, like wise beyond their years. A lot of times, and they will just know things. Like, for example, I had a coworker, and her daughter was extremely intuitive. And when I went over there, she had never met me before, never seen my vehicle, and I was actually in someone else's vehicle. I was in a family member's, and she said, "Oh, that's your mom's vehicle." And I was like she didn't even nobody knew that. I'm like, but me, I'm like, and she's like a 5-year-old girl, and I was just like, wow, like she didn't even see the vehicle, nothing. She doesn't even know my parents. I was just like,
Yeah,
kids are, certain kids are just really naturally intuitive, and I feel like we kind of unlearn that. It's like we are told
yeah,
that we are wrong, or like we are, in some way, we shut off those gifts a lot of times. Or I feel like a lot of times it's too much for people, and they can be overwhelmed by them at certain points of their life or different traumatic experiences, and they kind of push those down.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that. That's actually the next thing that came to my mind was, you know, we as the modern adults in our society, we take our inner child and we treat them like a toddler we don't like. We're like, oh, you're hungry? Here's some fast food. Go back to your room and be quiet. You're sad and you're upset? Here's no Pop Tarts and a soda. Go sit over there. Even more these days is here's your tablet. Go sit over there with your
I
tablet.
was
Leave me
just
alone.
gonna say that.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just saying, no, I was just agreeing with you. Like in
Yeah.
my mind, I was just like, yeah, I just feel like it's trying to, they're really just, it's avoidant. I feel like so many people are just avoidant, and it's constant avoidance of just looking at ourselves and just really kind of dealing with a lot of things. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
times kids are reflections so much for people, and it can be really hard to deal with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and of course, we also
And
see
they're
like
also just tiring.
yeah. Well,
Kids
and a
can
lot
also
of
just be
times,
tiring.
yeah, for sure. And people just throw money at their kids. Like that's what
Hmm.
entitlement and affluenza and all this stuff is. And there's a bigger cycle, and we may get into this or not. Depends. It's rabbit holes. We can go down any rabbit hole we want at any
Right.
time, but it's like, people they work really hard and we get really prosperous and we think that money is going to answer all of our prayers and all of our needs. And then like we hand that down to our kids thinking this is going to answer all their needs as, maybe they're a teenager and they got a trust fund or whatever. It just it 100% of the time, well, let's say 95% of the time, does not work that way at all. You absolutely destroy them and give them more than they can ever handle because it's like, well, I know you went from 5 years old and here's your tablet to here's $5 million. Have fun, be a good person. So yeah, we were talking about listening, and I was saying that like listening was my route, and it's kind of been a lifelong thing I've been trying to learn more about, trying to investigate. But let me clarify a little bit that like I don't just mean with your ears. I mean it's a full body experience, right? Every single nerve that we have in our bodies is listening to something. Even right now, I'm sitting out here swinging in a rocking chair, and my body's picking up what the temperature is. My eyes are picking up where the sun is and the weather and the changing of the seasons. And so, like, I'm listening to so much. I'm listening to the trees around me in a way. I'm watching how they're growing and, if they're dying or if they're fighting a disease, and so it's every cell of our body is listening and we're just like made for listening at that level, at a every cell kind of level. So that's really kind of to elaborate on what I think like listening is when I talk about that. What do you think about that?
I think that I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I feel like when I spoke earlier, I feel like listening is the actual method of, getting to that intuition and getting there. It's just that many people have a lot of different places that they listen to themselves in a lot of different
Yeah,
ways. But
sure.
I agree, and I feel like the best thing that I could add would be to really channel in, like when you're listening, listen to your heart. The heart is like, I feel like
Mm,
the biggest truth center, and really tapping into like that love. And the other place I feel like that I really listen, that truth resonates with me a lot, is in my gut and in my solar plexus. And I feel like that is just another
mm,
powerful energy center where
yeah.
you will feel it. A lot of times I've heard people tell me things, and like I will have like I that story I had shared earlier, I had a shifting in my gut where I knew that that was true, and there was just like this undeniable uh knowing. I guess I would call it instinct.
Yeah, okay. Like an instinctual knowing, kind of an, it's all kind of in there together. It's like in the same bubble, kind of. Like, how
Yeah,
do you
there's
know?
different names on it. A lot of people call it like clairsentience or,
Okay,
claircognizance, like when you just have like this knowing or like this clear feeling about something, or like a lot of people will call it a gut feeling. But yeah,
okay,
a lot of times I feel like we identify when you start to really listen to yourself and listen to your body, like how you were saying, building off of what you were saying earlier. There's different parts of our bodies that we notice, have different functions, if you will. Like a lot of times, like when I am visually seeing something, I'm using my third eye. But a lot of times, like when I'm deciding if something feels right, I can sit there and visualize everything to look right. But it's a matter of tuning into my heart and my throat and my stomach and seeing if it feels right, if it feels like the truth, like really tapping
right.
into that energy.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I had a situation the other day, like right along that lines, where, Jill and me were sitting in there and we've been kind of drawing cards, like oracle cards, for
Yes.
each other and just kind of practicing and seeing. And it's been amazing. But this one time she was like, "Don't you want to draw a card from your new like Viking Oracle deck for me or whatever?" And I was like, in my gut, it was like a strong no. But like, she's my friend, she's my partner, we do everything together, it's like, but I wanted to do it for her, but my gut said no. And then, I went ahead and shuffled, drew her card, and I had a strong reaction. And I had a strong reaction after like I read it for her and and kind of looked it up and we're going through all of that because we don't have it all memorized. We have very little familiarity with it at this point, but it was like right on for her as they always have been. And so, but at that moment, she wasn't ready to hear it. As a matter of fact, she was kind of stuck in a little bit of fear and she couldn't hear it. As a matter of fact, she like refuted it and, and just kind of went to her fear, which allowed her to not listen and not see anything for just a moment. But still, like it made me upset and not, it just made me feel upset. And I was like, why am I upset? And understanding that like if you're ever angry or upset, you're not really ever angry or upset at anybody else. That's just a projection of you being angry and upset with yourself. So I sat there with myself. I played, some different frequencies on my phone and I just kind of shut down and listened internally and it was like my gut was like, I told you, don't grab a card for her, and you did it anyway. And she didn't listen. And I was, and I was like, hey, you know what, gut, thank you for that message. And I will try harder to listen to you. And, and I came to peace within myself. And then coming out of that, like Jill was, and I told Jill exactly what happened. Like, hey, you asked me to do this. I did it. And you didn't even listen. And so I'm just letting you know I had a gut instinct to not do that, and she was like, she listened to all of it and heard, and it kind of took her a step back for a second. She was like, you're right. I was in my fear. So anyway, so that's kind of something that transpired the other day for me not for me hearing my gut, but like not like listening to it, I guess, in a way of acknowledging and allowing it to guide me. What do you think about that?
I think that you are spot on, and a lot of the lessons that you're going through are synonymous with ones that I have recently went through. Where I was at work, not at my tarot job, at my job at the dispensary, and I just had a downtime, and it was me and one other coworker. And I was walking in holding my cards from across the parking lot, and he was at the other side, and I felt him mentally like looking at me, and I felt him like I knew he was going to ask me for a reading, and I didn't want to give him one. And then he came in, approached me exactly like, I knew he was going to, and then proceeded to say how he would never pay for like something like that. And I was thinking, maybe I'll just be nice, even though I knew I didn't want to. And the fact that he didn't want to pay for it alone says that he isn't trying to listen. He's just like,
Right.
and he's not, yeah, actually ready to receive. But that's a whole another point. But he was not ready to hear that information, and he immediately went into victim mentality and then was jaded towards me after me delivering the true message that came through, because I don't care and I'm going to deliver the message that's coming through.
Yeah.
And especially when you've asked for it. And so, but it wasn't worth it, and I should have just listened to my intuition and just set my healthy boundary and said, hey, I don't want to, if you don't really want to pay, and if it's not that important to you, then it's not that important to me. And there's no hard feelings, but, I'm not really here for that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
setting healthier boundaries from love, it doesn't even have to be like any hard feelings. It's just like, yeah, knowing your worth.
Well, and I just wonder, and you're right, and there's so many aspects of that that do line up with what I went through in that situation. But it's so interesting that people have to be. I wrote down like ready to receive. They have to be ready to receive, ready to listen. You know, don't ask me for help if you're on your phone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that's like a large part of like why the channel gets so strong when I am with people who are actually willing to pay, because I feel like that act of actually putting in that energy in, like you are actually ready to receive, you are putting in money and energy that you've accrued for this service, like, and that is energy, and I feel like that exchange creates like a stronger connection to spirit and just various things. But I feel like just that alone, and it just puts you in a more of a state to receive, because you work hard for your money, most people, I mean, like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people just aren't the most frivolous. So I feel like that alone. But there are a lot of people, I don't charge everyone for readings, but again, going back to heart based, and like giving from
Yeah.
overflow and giving from because you feel like you want to and not that you have to. But
Right.
yeah, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, no, it hit something for me about like doing it because you care, right? Helping somebody out because you care. And I was sharing something about that, but it didn't get through because we got disconnected. But it was like a person comes to mind, and I just go ahead, I draw a card for them, and then I text them, and I just tell them. There was one guy though that I sent him a picture of the card and told him what it meant. He was like, "That's exactly what we talked about for 3 hours." you know, and I was like, yeah, I shuffled, I drew this card, and it was, and here's the card I drew for you. But most of the time, what I've been doing, because of such a sharp contrast between this new perspective that I have and my older perspective, Christianity and, doctrines and all of that, a belief system like that, that there's a divide between people that you know, would judge me for doing it and people that wouldn't judge me. And that guy was one that wouldn't judge me. But even the people that might judge me, like I'll flip a card and I'll put it in a text message, not the picture, not, any of the stuff, but just like what it means or what I feel like it meant for them. And like, hey, let me encourage you that you're going the right way. Things are going good. Keep doing what you're doing. And that's what I got from the card for them. And, so it's kind of interesting, straddling two worlds and, kind of moving on to this new perspective that, that, it comes out of caring. I'm not like, this will be fun. Let me draw cards for everybody I know. It's no, they come to mind, they come to my heart, and I do something about it, and I use the intuition to, the way I see it, and at least from my perspective and who I am, it's always for encouragement, validation, and, acceptance. So it's always from a positive place.
And
And go
yes.
ahead.
No, that's why your intuition is so strong, because everything that you're saying, like, you are doing it to put power in people's hands and to like really build them up and to kind of realign them, you know? And
Yeah,
so what you were saying, what it triggered in me was an experience that I had just had, and something that I have always said with my readings is that I am different from other intuitives where you get the reading that you need, not the reading that you want. I mean, I
right.
can, but the one typically when I sit down with someone, there is like more urgent things that spirit is wanting to talk about, and my
Sure.
guides know that I will deliver that hard truth. If it's something like where I need to kind of sit someone down and be like, you know, there's this going on in your relationship, or like what are you lying to yourself about, like, and like give that tough love and be like, it's time to kind of buck up a little bit, because
Yeah.
there's no light without dark. And I feel like it's I kind of what I do is I kind of can help shed light into the shadows in a very gentle manner. But where this is going is I had a client where she sat down, and again, it's all about perspective too. Her and her friend got a reading, and what I thought she got the more a positive sounding reading, but in her eyes her friend did. And she was hoping that someone that had passed was going to come through, but she needed to hear other things more. And that is something, and then I explained to her, I was like, she's like, do you not channel people who've passed? I said, I do. I said, when it's meant to happen. I was like, for example, I had a 17-year-old girl in here the other day. I was like, and I had no idea that her father had passed away from cancer. I said, and he came through. I said, and I told her that that he was with her. And then right after, the stepmom or whoever was with her came in and confirmed that he had passed away from cancer. And I was just like, oh, wow. And because the girl kept a straight face and didn't cry, surprisingly. I don't know how. I mean, she teared up a little bit, but uh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize how spot on I actually was, even though, because I'm just learning to come into my confidence more and more every day. She needed to know that it was okay to be happy and that it was okay to move on. But there's a lot of times where I feel like people will seek out these intuitives and they will kind of prey on people who are
Hmm.
looking to talk to these people who've passed on, when in reality, these people who've passed on are probably like reincarnated, or like they don't, most of the time they don't want their significant other to sit there in like this longing desperation connection, like they want them to feel loved and connected and know that they're there. But I feel like some people really kind of hand their power away in a sense to
Hmm.
these psychics and these mediums, and kind of rely on them to be this channel, when they should trust their channel and their intuitive connection, I feel like,
Right.
with these people, like that we're so close to them. And
Well,
don't get me
and
wrong, like
yeah,
having the help to kind of do that, but then there's like this fine line where it's like some people get, where they kind of get a little, there's just a point where I feel like people kind of start handing their power away, and it becomes a
sure.
little bit more like energy pulling, and kind of it's time to move on.
Yeah.
You're hanging on to the
It's
grief
not
a little too long.
right. It's not consumer. It's not a consumer, thing. It's not like you come to me every time you need help. No, it's not that way. It's, well, at least not for me, or at least that's not what I feel for myself. It's like, let me get you on the path. You're not far away. And then you got it, right? Like, let me just bump you a little bit back onto your path, or down your path a little bit, and you'll be fine. You got this. It's not
Yes.
you need me for every stage of life. No, it's like I'm here just to help. And if I can, and this is where I'm at, but if I can do it like seamlessly and you never even know it, even better, because then you own it for yourself. And then you're like, man, I got through that. If I can give you a little gentle bump that encourages you. But I got a story to go with this, and I know you'll love it. Now that my perspective shifting, like I look back on experiences. And so I had this Army veteran, and I'm a Marine Corps veteran, but I had this Army veteran that I was working with. And there's a veteran treatment court. And I'm a mentor at veteran treatment court. And he was my mentee. And he had seen combat. He had like 4 or 5 of his closest buddies die right next to him, right? And but he
Wow.
survived. And and he's just so guilty. He's, survivor's guilt. He takes on full responsibility for all of them dying. And and there's wives that were left behind, kids and all of this. And he called me late one night and he's just on the border of suicide, like just like a few thoughts away. And I'm trying whatever I can do, racking my brain, trying to encourage him. And I listen to him and it occurs to me. I'm like, what do you think that your squad that died would want you to do? Do you think they're over there beckoning for you to come join them as soon as possible in a slow and miserable way? Or do you think they would tell you, live for us? You better live enough for 6 people. Like, you better see some stuff, you better accomplish some stuff, get out there and live? And I told that to him, and, I didn't consider it channeling of any kind at the time, but I just got this thought of what they were actually thinking. And I told it to him, and it changed everything for him. He started taking showers. He showed up in clean clothes. He did everything the court system told him to do. And he eventually graduated that program. And now he's got a business he started. And, and that's what I envision as at least my role is just like, and it's really similar to what you're saying, where you don't even know what you're listening to, but you're listening, and a thought comes through, and it just changes everything for them. And they're his guardians, they passed on, or however you want to see it, or what the theory is. But like, it was a really clear message from them, like, go out there and live. Don't try to die. We died. You live, right? And don't be
Right.
guilty.
Yes. You it's spot on. I mean, the lessons, like the things that you've channeled, it's like that's how I had a best friend, like and he was just like a year younger than me, and we were just thicker than thieves. And he passed away in a car accident, uh, unexpectedly, obviously. And
Hmm.
that was like what came through to me, is how I got through it, is that I was gonna live for him. And that was
Hmm.
another one of the really spiritual experiences I had, where he came through to me right after he passed away while I was in meditation and unblocked my heart chakra
Hmm.
from a bunch of stuff, like, and a bunch of just built up energy and debris and stuff that I had from different relationships and different stuff, where I had felt like a victim and like, how could this happen to me? And I just seen like this vision of like this, it looked like a maze cube like opening into itself, and then it like clicked in like 3 times and it exploded, and I had this out of body experience. And
Wow.
yeah, it was wild. I felt like so pleasurable though, but almost in an overwhelming way, from like my chest all the way up into my head. And it felt like I was spinning. And it lasted for a good 3, 4 minutes. But I felt when that happened, I felt all of his energy like wash over me. And it felt like I literally could like feel his energy and his thoughts and
Hmm.
everything. And he told me like that he was okay and that he was gonna be fine. And I literally felt like this energy, like to live for him and to not mourn him, and that he was gonna be just fine. And so I
Hmm.
was just it was very powerful. Even though it's still definitely, I went through a mourning process, but it made it a lot easier with that understanding. I was blessed enough to have that connection, and be able to trust that connection enough to experience that. But I feel like a lot of it is so many times, and this is right directly built off of his death, is like, at first he could not come to me in my dreams, and he visited someone else. My friend Lexi, who had only met him one time, he explained to her that he had to visit her because the um when people pass away, a lot of times you're so hurt, you're in such a low vibration, and when you move past your physical form, you're now in such a high vibration, like in a higher dimension than in the third dimension. You're in a unperceivable dimension, and so it's hard for them to really especially reach down to people who are in grief or who are in really lower vibrations in the three dimensional plane. So
Hmm.
that's why it's a lot easier for them sometimes to contact other people or to reach out through uh, them. And so, yeah, that was a really interesting experience also that kind of helped me understand spirituality and connection to the afterlife more.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. I mean, I'm just picking up so much good stuff here. I have a question for you because I have a certain reaction in my body, and I have it whenever I'm having conversations like this one where it's deep and it's meaningful, and I'm passing stuff along, and it's just like I feel this shiver kind of feeling through my chest and into my arms, where it's almost I'm not cold, but where it's like being cold just in that region. I don't know if you
Ooh,
know
I
anything
just
about it.
do you get like a chill up your spine too sometimes with
I
it?
don't get no, I don't get a chill up my spine, but I do get like, well, I guess so because it's like a shiver. I get this like
Yes,
shiver.
yes, and like a wiggle up, like ooh. And so
Yeah.
you know what it sounds like to me is it sounds like Kundalini energy. That's when my Kundalini energy rises, and a lot of times it will, yeah, it will manifest in feelings like that.
Well, talk to me about Kundalini energy. I've kind of
So
seen the word around, but I don't know what it is.
I am not an expert on Kundalini. I will be the first to tell you, but basically, from my understanding, it's a energy at the base of your spine. It's represented by a serpent, and I have had visualizations of the Kundalini serpent, and I have had experiences. Basically, it will go up your energy centers. There's different meditation practices and breathing exercises that you can do, where you will kind of breathe in and activate your root chakra, your sacral chakra, your solar plexus, your heart, your throat chakra, your third eye, and then your crown. And
Right.
exhale, like when it gets to the top. And yeah, it's supposed to just activate your Kundalini. And people can have, sometimes it's painful for some people, but a lot of times people have very pleasurable experiences upon a Kundalini activation.
Yeah. Okay.
It can
Well,
be
that's
very
that's more
different
than
for
I knew.
everyone.
Yeah, mine is kind of like it's almost like a nervous kind of cold energy. But anyway, I mean, maybe, it's okay. We don't all know everything, but I just have experienced it my whole life, and I thought, well, I'm just nervous, but it's really good conversation, with a good person, and it's just there's no reason to be nervous at all. But it's just kind of even right now, like my hands are kind of shaking when I hold my phone. So I don't know. It's something to think about. Put it in your computer. I'll be looking for answers on my side too, but maybe if you think of something or check and
I will. Because I feel exactly, I know what you're talking about, and I feel it a lot of times when I'm channeling or if I'm meditating. And it's ironic that you bring, well, synchronistic that you bring it up because I was pondering that while I was driving the other day and I was channeling. And I was kind of when I channel like that, I will get the shivers and the chills, or like I will call them, and or shudders, and I'll be like, "Ooh." And
yeah.
yeah, and so they're very, I feel like it's just a very powerful, deep theta state or something, almost like when you're dreaming. You know how like sometimes when
Mm,
you're dreaming really hard, you like twitch and shudder? And it's like you get into
yeah.
that rapid eye movement and stuff. And so sometimes that's when I have that happen like in a intense way. It's when I'm in deep meditation with my eyes closed, not ever open eyes. I usually only experience like the little bit of chills when I'm sitting, channeling, doing a tarot reading with my eyes open. I'll just be like, whew. But sometimes I can get pretty deep into it when I'm meditating.
Okay. Well, thank you for what you have on that topic. Shoot, I got so many topics written down. What do you want to talk about next? Or do you want me to just pick something else to go back to?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I liked, and I think everybody, including all my listeners, would really probably love information on you mentioned inner stillness. And while I might feel it, and while we talked about breathing, we talked about listening, you know, I just like to talk about inner stillness. What does that look like? Maybe how can you get there? Or what maybe your story of how what it means to you and how you get there.
Inner stillness. I guess I've really tried to find my inner stillness through meditation. For me, that is like my me time. It is like my most favorite sacred part of the day. But I feel like inner stillness comes from so much factors. And I feel like the best way to create like what I'm seeing in my mind's eye from my guides is they're showing me like a triangle. And it's like they're showing me the body, mind, soul, but also like as the strongest structure, and it's like creating that space for the inner stillness with the body, mind, and the soul, and creating the proper energies and areas of your life for you to really receive and to let go and kind of cleanse and to kind of call in abundance is really what I feel like.
Well, that's, I see some irony here in all the best ways because it's like you want inner stillness, focus on not inner stillness. Focus on, the triangle, and focus on breathing perhaps, and focus on, a balance, I guess, not like a million things, but focus on a few things that draw you inward. And then you just like, you
You get
stumble
into a
into it
flow
kind of.
state.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that for me, like that's one of the best ways I can go within or be in stillness is just being in some sort of flow state, like being in touch with my body, like exercising, doing something in nature, again, spending time with your animals. A lot of my best insights come, I have a dishwasher and I still will wash dishes because some of my best insight comes when I'm just sitting there washing the dishes, just in a different state of mind. So
Hmm.
yeah, just finding the stillness and really I feel like creating those moments.
Yeah. And what I like what you said about flow state, because I do know a lot about flow state from personal experience because, I had a pottery business where I was working on pottery and no pieces looked the same. So it was never like cranking them out like mass production. It was like, what is, what do I feel like I want this one to be? Or what message do I want to say with this one? Or what am I feeling that I want to express in this coffee cup or whatever? And I made them each unique and everything else. And like, you just get into this state where I mean, you don't look at the clock. You don't even know there's a clock. You don't realize clocks exist. And you come back out of it to reality and you're like, well, I guess that's a full day of work. It's been 8 hours, or 6 hours or 4 hours. But like you're doing something and you're in the moment, and it's all, I guess it just sounds really parallel and to like meditation or maybe exercise, like a meditative run or something, where you just get into this state and you forget, like it's almost like you forget your what reality is and that you're in it for a little bit and you float and you come back and you look at the time again and you're like, oh, it's time to go home. Obviously that's what people want for a career, because if you are having fun, never work another day in your life, if your work is fun. What do you think?
I live that. When I do readings, that genuinely I couldn't tell you how often when I am at a full session where depending, it's different for different people, but there have been so many different times where they've had to grab me and be like, it's been over 2 hours. Like there's people waiting. And I'm like, has it really? Like I will have no concept of time. And we will
Yeah,
all look at each other surprised a lot of the times, like, what? Like we did not even realize that it's been this long.
yeah, yeah. And there's plenty of examples, and I can give examples for me. And I did. I gave pottery as an example, but like another example is like traveling and with no time limit. And so we've been traveling, we told people we're going to be on the road for 6 months. We're visiting all the Northeast states. And I swear in 2 weeks, somebody says, hey, are you still on vacation? Because they cannot fathom losing track of time like that. Like I don't even know. I have to think about it. Like, oh, okay, yeah, today's Sunday, and me and Jill, neither one of us know what day it is most days. We're like, oh yeah, because we have nothing on the calendar except traveling, and like we come to visit a friend. We're here in Pennsylvania this week, and he's like, you can stay as long as you want, and I was like, can I stay for a month? He's like, sure, stay for a month here, and like visit all of Pennsylvania and just stay here with my RV. And we lose track of the days. We're like, that was the day that we went to the river and saw the waterfalls. That was, I think that was last week sometime. Okay, no, it was Wednesday. No, it was Friday. No, it was Tuesday. We really don't even remember. We have to pull up and like I texted somebody on Wednesday and I told them I went to the waterfall and I sent them a picture. So it was Wednesday, and we really lose track of that. And it's kind of there's a piece there, and I guess it's the flow state to some extent.
I feel like you guys are just doing it right. Like, and I feel like sometimes it blows my mind how long people will be like, they will remember to a T, like down to, 4 weeks ago, down to a Tuesday, what happened. And when you're in a flow state, you're not really thinking like that. You're just experiencing, you're living, and you're
Yeah.
not, I feel like, yeah, it's a different type of energy, a different type of receiving, and you're kind of letting go as you're receiving.
Wow. Yeah.
It's
Heart.
just what it
Well,
is it boils down to being in the present. Being in the present. And I feel like you guys are just so in the present. And that's what the inner balance is bringing what you want in the future into the now and calling it into the now. It's embodying it right now, because that's all there ever is going to be is the present.
when I just
Time is
had
an
a thought
illusion.
while you were talking about the present, and it was like it was something. It was about the inner child, and our inner child guides so much. I mean, towards destruction when it's not happy. Just like a toddler might throw stuff, throw a controller at a TV and break it, or throw a temper tantrum and like fall on the ground and just start breaking stuff. That's how our inner child. I mean, most of our inner child children are
No,
neglected, to say the least. Yeah, like sit down and eat your broccoli, and then or whatever the case may be. And our inner child, is, and as we align with that, then our inner child is like, I want to go over here. I want to see that. And our inner child is in the moment. And you ask a child, oh yeah, we'll do that next Friday. They will come up to you an hour later, like, are we going swimming now? When are we going swimming? They have no concept of the time. And time is kind of a prison in that way. And I am really going down a rabbit hole here, but it's like the flow state kind of sets us free from time. And that reminds
that's
me of a
so
story,
true.
and then I'm gonna turn it back over to you to comment again. But like I do pottery workshops. I teach people pottery, and they just come in, and it's all hand building. So they just come in and give them some clay in their hands and teach them a few little things about hand building, and then just like set them free. And we get about, and I play some instrumental music just to kind of get them moving.
Yeah.
And then like they're moving and it's been about an hour or maybe even 30 minutes in, and I'm like, you guys know what you're not thinking of right now? And they all look up at me like they don't even know where they are. Right? Blank eyes, blank expression. And a person is like, what am I not thinking about right now? And I'm like, everything that happens outside this room. And they start and they're like, you're right. And they're like, wait a minute, you just reminded us about it or whatever. And I was like, don't worry, you'll get right back into it. I just wanted to make a point that, like, this is a good place in this moment. It almost always is an amazing place to be, and just stay in this moment. What do you think?
I agree because it's like when we are living in, I guess even I'll tie it into manifesting. It's like when you are sitting there viewing things as being in the future instead of being appreciative of where you are now and taking action in the now and just being in that grounded energy, and really pulling in all of like that spiritual guidance, if you will, or just being in the moment and being grounded and being focused on doing one task. But I feel like there is just so much to touch on all of that. I was just thinking about earlier how it's when we're doing those tasks in that flow state that I feel like we reach a lot of the magic because we are utilizing our upper chakras and we are actively engaging, physically doing something. And so it puts us in that full alignment. And that's
Yeah,
why a lot of that magic and that insight comes through at times like that.
I and you're getting it raw, and I'm just like looking with the perspective and like, wow, I was putting people in the flow state, and letting them see that they could be there and then letting them go back to their lives with that. Like, and it was, like I did pottery classes all the time. I had a monthly pottery class. I did, a few others every month. So it was like, I don't know, 30 people maybe a month or so. That's like, and here's the thing, it's absolutely voluntary. It's consensual. It's not like, surprise, you're in a flow state. It's like, hey, you want to make some pottery? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, here's how you do it. Here's some clay, and so it's just mind-boggling to
Yes.
me the impact that could have. And looking back on it now, it was fun in the moment and it was great. I mean, we had a blast. I loved teaching them and guiding them in that way, and they all loved it. I never had a person that was like, man, I hated this, I'm never doing this again. They were always like, next week same time, right? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, next week same time. And they're always happy to see the piece they made. It's alchemy, right? You're turning mud into something permanent, something
Right.
long after you're gone. In who knows how many years, so an archaeologist or somebody's going to dig out of the ground and say, I wonder what was going on here,
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. I feel like a part I lost my thought. I was thinking you triggered something in me though, and it was about listening to your intuition. What were you just talking about? We repeat the last like 2 minutes of what you
Sure.
said.
Yeah, no problem. This happens to me sometimes too. I was like making them in the moment. They enjoyed it. I sent them out. Oh yeah, and you're turning some alchemy. You're doing something from mud, turning it into like something that is gonna outlive you. That archaeologists will dig up, in a lot of years and wonder what was going on. Does that pick it back up for you?
Hmm. No, I feel like it was something about the inner child that I was going to build
Mm.
on, but if it's important, well, it'll come back. Yeah, I'm enjoying your conversation just as much as you are enjoying mine. I feel like you have so much inner wisdom and things to offer.
Mm.
Lots of activations in the conversation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's good. And I'm kind of new to this bubble and this perspective, but yeah, it's just kind of rolling out for me, and I love that too. And this is a lot of work that's going on for me and Jill too, is your inner child will guide you through your memories. And I wasn't like this perspective before, but I knew from counseling that it was like I just kind of gave a command or a request is probably better. I gave a request to my body, my brain, to myself to bring up unreconciled memories so that I could reconcile them and, reconcile with myself in them because I looked for so long from a perspective of I messed everything up, I was a failure, I'm a second-class citizen, and then to kind of finally reconcile with my inner child and look back at it and I'm like, man, you were courageous right there. Actually, I don't know. I have to rethink that memory. Or, yeah, you did something that was wrong, but you know what? I understand it. I can put myself in your little shoes and say, I can see why, you lied about that, or whatever the case may be. Whatever I judged myself for, I went back through, or I am in the process. And like I have this kind of this cue where things pop into it. It's like, hey, here's a memory. And I'm like, ooh, I forgot about that one. Yeah, I remember that. I'm a little ashamed of that memory or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I forgive you. And it just reconciles and puts them away right. And that's kind of the self-awareness and the work I've been doing to be authentic. Because if you don't reconcile with that, it will just control you. And not only that, you're letting an angry temper tantrum throwing toddler decide your life, right? But what do you think?
Absolutely. I agree. That's been a large theme of like what I've been going through too, is going through different memories with the inner child and different experiences and kind of replaying them and kind of offering healing and viewing them with kinder and more mature and more healed eyes. And I feel like that has been a really transcendent experience that has helped me release a lot of blocks and things that are holding me back in my life. And I feel like, I guess, yeah, that's you hit the nail right on the head. That's just it follows in line very much with everything that I'm doing.
Well,
You
there's
were
the problem
it's
with two intuitive people talking. It's like you keep hitting the nail on the head. Well, we're both intuitive,
yeah.
you know?
Yep.
But I like the way you said that, like looking at it with kindness. I like kindness. It's one of my new favorite words. Like being kind to
Extending yourself
yourself.
grace too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really how I like to view it. I've been on a big journey of just trying to extend grace to myself.
Well, what I found on that topic is as I've extended grace to myself and as I've reconciled those memories, like my heart is so open for other people. Like, it's just like a smile, just extending a smile and coming up and saying hi or recognizing someone that's kind of looking a little lost or disturbed and say, "Hey, are you okay?" You know, it's the smallest of things, but
It's listening.
it's like planting a seed though, and it grows.
Yep, you're listening though. You're always listening.
Yeah.
And people
Well,
feel that, and I feel like the universe hears that. And I feel like that's, I guess, one thing that I was going to say that I was going to talk about earlier is listening to your guides, and being able to hear those intuitive messages from the universe and just being able to clear out that chatter, you know?
yeah. Well, and I think for the listeners and everything else, there's some really basic things you can do. It's not like, you know, Kundalini energy. I hope you know everything about it because that's what you know. It's not that. It's like put down your phone, turn off your TV, practice breathing, listen in the quiet, listen to yourself. You know, it's like, well, I mean, while that is complicated and kind of really hard to just sit there with yourself sometimes, like, I mean, it's not rocket science. I don't have to give you like a 15-part quadratic equation or tell you how, gravity works. It's just like go find a chair somewhere. No, no, no. Put your phone in the other room on do not disturb. Sit in that chair and listen to yourself, you know?
Yes.
Undivided attention. I mean, we're all familiar with what that means. We've all been to school. You know what I'm saying? Our teachers are like, we need
Yeah.
your undivided attention. You're not going to learn this if you don't pay attention or whatever. But I'm a different generation, so I'm dating myself. But yeah, it's not rocket science. I mean, it's really like take off the headphones, take out the earbuds. I mean, ideally, and this is even more simple, find a tree or a forest or a lake or a stream and sit your butt down and breathe and just see what happens. Like, if you
Yes.
got your phone on Do Not Disturb, put it for 30 minutes, start small, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and just sit there and turn it all off and see, what you hear. You'll hear a
Remember
bubbling brook. Go ahead. Go ahead.
remember what I wanted to talk about though, and it was that so many different people are intuitive and they have all of these natural different ways that they've discerned or like learned, and they have all of these inner tools that they know and recognize, but they will still stigmatize like other like magic or like tarot cards or different things like that. And there's, I feel like, all this stigma, even though they have their own so many different people. When you were talking about doing the pottery and how you're putting all these people in that flow state. And I'm like, yeah, there's so many people that create this magic and do this already, and they don't even understand that they're doing the work. And those
Right.
are some of the most powerful people. And often those will be the people that will stigmatize and kind of be anti or very skeptical towards spiritual work and intuition. And a lot of times, those are some of the most powerful people, and they just don't put that label on it. And it
Well, and
just reminds me of how all the different religions highlight on so many different of the same themes, like the Holy Spirit and
yeah,
Ki and prana and chi. They all describe this universal energy that no one can see, or in science they might call it the quantum vacuum or zero point frequency. Like there's a million different names to this same force, and everyone just
yeah,
argues about how it's different instead of talking about how it's the same, you know?
right, right. And well, yeah, and I agree with you completely. And as I theorize why that is, like I'm thinking about a book that actually they have on the shelf at the alchemy, not no, what is it called? Drift Alchemy. It's called The Artist's Way, and if you haven't read it, like, I mean, you're already where you need to be, but it can only help. But it's like it talks about everybody as an artist, and if you do not pursue some form of art, then you'll get whatever you can as close to the one that you want. So if you have the desire to be in theater, then you may actually put yourself into like being a lawyer in a courtroom or something, or in some other state, or somebody that runs a theater, when you should be an actor.
Right.
And so everybody's like an artist, but because they don't acknowledge it, it just kind of sits there disgruntled, but it still guides you close as you can get without you getting it in. You won't let yourself go in. And that makes me think about this intuition as well. Well, and here's the thing. Here's the craziest, well, I mean a big irony. Let's just say it that way without too many any negative
Synchronicity.
words. Yeah, the synchronicity of it, right? I was in, that the Drift Alchemy place shop, and nothing stood out to me. And you offered me a reading, and I was like, okay, I feel good about it. Let's do it, right? And then I came back out, and I came another day too. And as I shared with you this already, offline of this, but like the lady that was running the shop, and I don't know her name, and maybe I should mention it anyway, but she came out and she said, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of looking for tarot cards, but I don't like any of the ones I see here, or maybe some oracle cards. And she was like, you're so high energy, you don't even need tarot cards, or, and I was like, I'm what? I don't
Right.
even know, right? I'm not completely don't even know at all. Like,
Yeah, she's amazing.
I just think it's going good, and I just think life is great, and I'm just enjoying the flow state and helping people all along my journey, but I never even knew that was going on for me. And you're like, oh, you're really intuitive. And I'm like, yeah, I'm trained as a counselor, and I picked up on these cues and all this stuff. And that's all true. But there's another element to it, right? There's another part. And that's what we've been talking about this whole episode. And I think maybe most people are that way. They're like not even aware that they're either
Everyone is
psychic
intuitive.
at
Yes.
some level
Everyone
and
has
in
their own
different
form.
ways. Right.
Yes.
Okay. There you
So
go.
many people hold it in their body. It's like, I guess, and talking about the different types, like even like what you were saying earlier, you heard something in your mind. Like that is, even though, like, yes, I have experienced clairaudient experiences where it literally is like something is in my ear, but most often it's almost like a voice in the back of your head or something far off. And I don't mean like something else. It's just like your higher self. Like it's like this clear
Right.
alignment. And a lot of times, like, you will have, for me, the more I've developed into my channel, I will know like when Archangel Michael comes through, like I will get like a clear blue color wash. And like different angels specifically, like they have a lot of color when I work with them.
Okay.
And yeah, so it really just depends, but everyone experiences these things differently. Like some people see the angels, I don't. It's usually like they're on like the other side of like a veil when I talk to them, but I don't really even ask to see them because I have a level of trust where I don't need to sit there and be looking at them. And so I will just kind of like have a conversation with them if I need to, but most of the time I will just call upon their presence, just to kind of be with me if I'm meditating or something like that, just to bring clarity to me at this
Yeah.
point. But I've worked with them a lot over the years. They're beautiful. The angels are some of my favorite presences to work with.
Well, thank you, Joey. This has been tremendous. It's been a good conversation, and I know we had some stops and starts, but man, I'm glad you stuck with it. And we're kind of nearing the end, but I do want to give you an opportunity to, like, if there's any last thing you want to say to the listeners, or you just want to say because I want to give you that opportunity right now. And you don't have to
Hmm.
hurry. It's not like you got 30 seconds go. It's like, hey, if it takes 10 minutes or whatever, it takes that long.
I guess I just want to talk about quickly, like they keep showing me the chakra systems in my head.
Okay.
And I feel like one of the most important ways like to stay in alignment is with meditation and with just general maintenance, like energetic maintenance, maintenance on your physical body, your mental body. And I feel like they all fall tandem, you know, like when you're putting in that love on your physical, it clears, it kind of structures your mind in a different way. Like that action kind of aligns your mind. It's like all of these things flow together. It is all of a system. And they're showing me like the importance of just keeping these energy centers cleared and just doing. I like to do different meditations, or you can, a lot of people use crystals, wearing different colors, or putting that energy at that energy center. And chakras, you know, they can be photographed. So there's a lot of different ways to work with them. Some people use dowsing crystals. That's a whole other rabbit hole to get down. But basically, where I'm going with this is finding a way to kind of work through blockages and keep those energy centers clear, because that is one of the most important things to be in alignment, is to have your energy flowing as it should in the correct manner and using these energy centers in tandem as they're meant to be used from a grounded place of love, you know, visualizing and actualizing, you know, and doing so from a grounded place, expanding our heart, you know, evermore.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
awesome.
And
Thanks
it's like
for that. Go ahead. No, keep going if you need to.
I was just gonna comment on the crown, you know, and it's like, and just trusting and receiving like this energy from source and from spirit when, and I feel like, I guess doing so from a place of love and not from fear, and realizing like what's actually good for like everybody and not just what's serving ego or like from a place of fear, because I
Awesome.
feel like a lot of
Awesome.
people fall into that.
Thank you for that good word. And, I know a lot of my listeners, maybe they don't understand chakras. There's a lot of resources out there. I mean, you can go on Google probably, you can watch some videos. So, yeah, read into it if that hits for you or if you're interested in it. And yeah,
I
thanks
can
for that
explain
word.
them quickly. Chakras are basically energy centers. We have many, seven main though. They're located from basically the base of our spine all the way up to the crown of our skull. The crown chakra being on the crown, the root chakra being at the base near the perineum. And they basically essentially connect us to the crown, to the divine cosmic realm. The root chakra connects us to Mother Earth and down to our earthly body. And, you know, our heart chakra, self explanatory. Throat chakra is self explanatory. Our third eye connects us to our sight, it's our vision beyond our actual eyes. Our third eye actually has the same cells as our eyes, but it is in our skull, our pineal gland. And so then we also have our solar plexus, which is associated with our willpower, with our drive to do things. And then we have our sacral energy center between that and the root, and that is an orange one, and it's about our sexual energy and our creative energy forces. And so when we experience different blocks in these energy centers, it can manifest in different things. So sometimes, you know, for example, if you have a block in your heart chakra, you might be, you know, really isolating and not open to new experiences, and really kind of coming from a guarded, jaded, hurt place, because your heart chakra has all these blockages in it that are ready to kind of, they're what I like to call pain points. And when we see things that trigger us or really cause us pain, I feel like those are our most powerful methods or spots to really dig in and get to the root of the issue, so that you can dig deep and actually get healing in. And I think earlier you were talking about how, you know, much you've learned from different hardships that you've been in your life, and how much they've taught you. And it was like I was hearing in my head, you know, I've learned more from the bottom than the top ever has. And it's like those are the moments that teach you grace, and it's like there would be no light without dark again. And so it's finding those moments as teachers, and that is what really coming in through as a winner and really manifesting better for yourself is. And I feel like it's choosing to see the light and making every moment a positive one, you know, and really reclaiming your power. Because you could sit there and say, like, oh, this terrible thing happened to me, or you could sit there and view it in the other light and be like, wow, that happened to me. And now I know what triggers me, or like, you know, when you get to the bottom of it and really get to the root of it, then you can take your power back from it. And then you can avoid going through that cycle again. and so you can up level your experience and start going through a different cycle, because you're never
Yeah.
done, but it's just a matter of learning to navigate them, I guess, with more grace and finesse.
Awesome. Well presented.
Yes, thank you
I
so
love it.
much
I
for
feel
having
like,
me, Aaron.
hey, if I don't know if you're comfortable, but if anybody wants to find you, maybe for a reading, or do you have a place where people can find you, or are you comfortable sharing that?
Absolutely, yeah. So I have Facebook and YouTube. It's True North Channeling, just like it's spelled. You can contact me through there, message me, preferably on the Facebook. And yeah, otherwise, my email is yeswakita. That's YesWeketa 27 at hotmail.com. And you can also try to schedule with me there. I'm working on getting a website built, but yeah. I post readings on my YouTube once in a while. I don't really do that as much because my in person readings have been taking off quite a bit. So it
Awesome.
hasn't been that necessary.
And I can see why. And thank you so much for sharing this space with me and really opening up. And yeah, it's just a great conversation. But we'll be doing it again. So think about what you want to talk about next time too. We'll be in touch.
Absolutely, Aaron. I'm so grateful. Thank you for holding space and inviting me in. I can't wait.